I'm Ken Yee, one of the Android developers here. So I'm going to cover what Android for Work is, things you have to do to your app to make it work with Android for Work, and testing apps for Android for Work. So short summary of Android for Work. How many here, for quick raise of hands, who've used BlackBerry or like Windows Phone or some corporate environment where IT controls your phones? Okay. Well, a few, but so that's essentially what Android for Work is. It's Google's version of Google's answer to BlackBerry, BlackBerry Enterprise Server, so your IT people can totally control your phone. So you install Android for Work on your phone, then you get things like the devices are encrypted, the IT can control your configuration of your phone. You have like a little work-only sandbox that your app runs in. You also have like a private app store that your apps run in, or the apps can be downloaded from. And you also have a kiosk mode. So, it's the typical things that IT people can control. So they can remote wipe your device if it's stolen, control what kind of PIN you can use, etc. Control your wireless setup. Lock out parts of your phone like your USB, SD. So it's really a sandbox that they want your apps to run inside. And there are like a whole bunch of other configurables that you can look at from that link below. So user experience. Although Android for Work apps end up having this little badge which looks like a briefcase, and your notifications also come out of Android for Work applications with this little badge. So what do you have to do to modify your apps for Android for Work? The things you expect if you're living inside a sandbox. So if you're in the sandbox, they also control what other apps live inside the sandbox with you. So for example, they can lock out Google Maps, for example. So you can't just launch an intent that launches Google Maps. So you have to make sure that you check whether the intent's resolvable, otherwise you'll blow up when you try launching Google Maps. You also have a restricted storage area, so you can't just go muck with the file system directly. So you have to use So you have to use a file provider content URI instead. So for configurable restrictions, you can provide parameters that show up in the IT admin console. They're defined via your Android manifest. So you basically point you have an extra item in the manifest that points to an XML file. The XML file contains whatever parameters you have for your app. In this case, it's whether your app can download cellular data. And that shows up on your console with the text and description, what options they have. In this case, it's just a Boolean. So as part of your app, you're responsible for checking the restrictions that the IT provider gives you, or the IT admin guy gives you. So you get a restriction manager, as usual with the Android stuff. You have to make sure that you check that the restrictions have been sent down to your device. And if it's not sent down, then you have to bounce the user out of your app. And finally, you can finally read the parameter for your app, and then do something appropriate for your app. You also have to listen for restriction changes. So if you're like running your app and then the IT guy decides to turn off like specific settings, so you just set up a standard intent filter. You set up a broadcast receiver to receive that intent, and then you register and unregister the intent receiver. So it's pretty standard stuff. And then one nice thing about Android for Work is the kiosk mode. Kiosk mode lets you run an application directly that takes over the entire device. So, for example, a point of sale thing for a tablet or something like that. So in Android 6, they actually made it actually usable. You can't escape out of it, whereas in Android 5, you could hit a key combo that'll let the user bail out of your kiosk app. So to get this to work, all you have to do is you add one line to your manifest again, and it's your main activity. And then when your app runs, it goes into kiosk mode. It hides the status bar, hides all the back button, things like that. So for testing your app, there are a couple of resources. There's a basic manage profile app that lets you test intents in Work Sandbox. There's another app called Test TPC in the App Store that lets you test more restrictions in Sandbox. And finally, there's an NFC provisioning app that lets you test kiosk mode. And then you can talk to the EMM provider, which is the enterprise management system that lets all this stuff work together for a testing console, so that you can go through the whole end-to-end process of releasing your app into your company's private app store and then downloading it to devices. So that's it. Thanks.